So then I started hiking around more, and I started to get deeper into the woods. Now I knew where I was roughly at versus where I wanted to go, which was back up onto the Mount Massive side of the trail. But I wanted to go back first and try to find these structures that I was looking at from the back side of our campsite. And then I started to notice as I went, I began finding structures, or not structures, but these odd, it looked like stacked lumber in between trees. And you can see it's going all the way back. Some of the stuff is just laying on the ground, but some of the stuff was stacked on top of each other, kind of like a fence, trying to keep things in. And I thought that was kind of intriguing. Let's make sure, stupid computer, okay. I found some oddities, like a tree that had been ripped out of the ground, and that's part of the root structures down here. This is the pine tree sticking up through it. It was crossing over other trees, and yeah, you could say that's just natural, but finding a tree that was ripped out of the ground with no hole was bizarre. Finding a tree again over here with almost the same type of situation that this tree was in was equally odd, because I know I can't rip a tree out of the ground, and this tree and that tree were pulled out of the ground. This is the river. I was hoping to actually see a picture of our campsite across the way, but I didn't get that picture. And then I started to find more destructive things, but I knew there were structures back here, and I just had to find them. I had to find what, the missing things here. And one of the weird ones was this tree. Now the tree looks like it should be normal, but the top of this tree is gone. But this tree here is resting on this part of the tree, and this is splintering, like something had bent it over the top of this tree that had been missing the top part of it. And I thought that was strange. Just that the things like that don't add up. It doesn't make any sense. I could see that there's something going on back here. Again, there was these trees that were laying on top of each other, and this could be wind blown. You're right. It could be any number of things. It could have been an avalanche. It could have been anything. But, I'm keeping an open mind on what I'm doing and what I'm looking at, and everything is always suspect to something else. And then I get to an area, and I start to see things that really kind of start to stand out. There's an awful lot of leaners, and these are all leaners, except for this guy back here where they're all crisscrossing over each other. And there's a lot of that. You start to see repeats, and I started to find some repeats. And I was like, well, this is a good sign, because eventually I am going to find something in the woods back here that's going to stand out, that I'm going to have to go and investigate that. Now, mind you, I'm the only person walking around in this little valley. There's nobody else out here. There's nobody. Everybody else is at the campsite or up on one of the trails, and I can't hear anybody on the trails, and I can't hear or necessarily see my campsite. The deeper I go into it, the more intrigued I get, because I think I see things in the distance, and so I keep going. And this is what people who do Bigfoot research do. They go into the woods and they just start wandering. So I find ground art, and this is a piece of ground art here. I can't explain it. I do not understand this ground art piece. I just don't. But to me, it looks like an asterisk, the way it's laid out. And I have found lots of asterisks on the ground like this before. and I still do. So then I get to, let's just make sure, did I just pass something I shouldn't have? Nope, guess not. All right. So then I get to this, and this is when it starts getting intriguing, because trees don't typically have a weird bend like this that are overlapping every other tree and coming down. It just doesn't make sense. And then you have other trees that are bent over and they're coming down, and they're underneath other trees, and you have all kinds of weird bends that are going on. You got crisscrossing action going on up here near the top. You have all, this is a teepee that I had seen, and I was like, oh my God. And once I found this teepee, which is extends out here, extends out over here, extends out over here, I hit gold. And this was just absolutely crazy. The more I was walking deeper into it, the more I was finding more stuff. And it was going crazy. Got an X. Got other timber that are leaning, you know. Again, I don't care about the leaners so much, but when they start to do, when the leaners are doing things that they probably shouldn't be, see, like this tree. This tree here goes all the way through this V of this tree, extends all the way over here. And then you have this tree that's pressed up against it that's also going through the same exact pairing of trees to keep this thing from blowing out. And I was like, oh my God, there's more of this stuff. And it's just non-stop. It just keeps going. And I found it further down here. In fact, there's something over here. Let's see if I can zoom in on this. Zoom into that side. Yeah, can I see it? I may not be able to see it. Well, you can't really see it. It's out of view. So, but there was so much stuff that was happening that I was getting excited. You have tree breaks now. This tree break is kind of funny because in one of my short videos that I did up at Kenosha Pass, there's a tree that mimics this break. It goes up, it's busted, and it comes back down again. And this is one of those tree breaks. Now, I have found a handful of these in different areas of Colorado. But there's all kinds of things here going on. You got arches that are going on. You have crazy looking X's that are going on back here. There is just so much stuff that's happening. I particularly like this. I've seen another version of this, not too far from Denver, but I've seen this type of action. In fact, I think I found a tree like this in Nebraska, where you have an X and you have a tree that's leaned up right, perfectly dead on with this thing. Again, it's just one of those really weird situations where you have trees that are just wedged into each other, and it makes no sense. Two trees that are pushed into a situation where they're locked in. But the really crazy part is, you know, this tree, you would have thought it would have busted out more branches when it came down through, but all the branches that are broken on this are on the back side. They're not, and they've been busted off down in here, and they're all about the same height that are busted off, which makes, again, no sense to me. But this branch isn't busted off, but I think they're using this to hold things together. Once you get into doing this, it gets very addicting. Everything becomes something interesting that leads you to something else. And the more you start hiking and exploring areas, the more you don't want to stop doing it. This is up on the hill. What we were just looking at. There's things that are down in this area. There's things that are going on down in this area. And my campsite is back way over here. Another series of weirdness. Trees that are twisted around other trees that come in and they turn into like a big stupid knot. This tree that did not have a root structure to it, so something brought it in and placed it down on top of all these trees that are going crisscrossing all over the place, is just resting right on top. There was 4 trees that were over here that were all leaning to the one side on this side, which really kind of was odd. There were other trees. There was a teepee structure back in this area. It was just really strange on how much stuff that was happening. Big old tree breaks. You have trees that are holding down the tree break. This is what I call wood stacking. Again, I don't see Forestry Service doing this, but here you have a tree break and you have wood that's been brought in and dropped on top of it. Again, it seems kind of odd. I mean, what's it take to actually bust this? And why is this tree broken and not this tree? Or any of these other trees that are in this area? This tree looked healthy compared to some of these other ones that are sitting here. Ground art. This would be a good triangle if it actually connected. If I would have followed it this direction, I'm pretty sure I would have run into something. If I would have followed the direction that I came from, that's where this thing was pointing to. And then there would have been something off to the side as well. Strange structures. More tree breaks with leaners. Tree breaks going underneath the leaners. That's different. Especially when the tree breaks on this side and it's coming through and it's landing. Would have been on the inside of this tree. In fact, oh no, it's not. It is being pushed back or being held back by that tree there. That's cool. This pattern right here repeated itself 3 times. 3 freaking times. At first I thought I was seeing things, and then I realized that this tree was woven in between. The trees that are going this way formed a checkered pattern, and it was cool. I still can't figure out why they do tree to trunk, and then trunk to trees, and then they make these long square patterns, or a hexagon shape, or a asterisk pattern on the ground that surround a tree. But everything around this tree was scraped away. All the foliage, that stuff that was here, was removed. It wasn't necessarily done anywhere else in here, but it was around this one spot. Looks like the soil was turned up just a little bit. And granted, there is a shadow there, but still it wasn't. All the greenery should have been showing if it was there. Other areas of woven trees. Trees just don't fall like this unless they're physically placed in between and shoved up through. Like this tree back here is under this one and on the inside of this one. It's on the inside of this one, but it goes around this tree and back up and around again. That doesn't make sense. That's one of those things you just look at and go, no, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't add up. Human beings aren't doing that. I don't know too many people that can bend a tree. You know, that it's in this position, I just don't see it. I don't physically see it. I'd gotten out to a point where I could see up along part of, I do believe this is Mount Massive, and there is I think the trail is like part of this right here. Let's see, is that a person, people? Oh yeah, there we go. So there's people right here. Those are people up on the trail. There you can see the blue jeans and some type of red pants. And these are people. Way the hell up there from my position. And I really want to get up in there. I think it'd be fun to rock count a little bit, see if there's any crystals up in this area. I think that's a person there. Yeah, that's a person. Hey everybody, this is Patrick from Sasquatch in the Wild. I hope you enjoyed this segment of this part of the video. Again, sorry for the flickering. There's nothing I really can do about that. Not yet anyway. I'm still trying to figure out a way to remove it, and that's not turning out very well. I'll have another video out. I'm still shooting for Wednesday, so let's hope for Wednesday. If not, it'll probably be Thursday at best. But again, my name is Patrick. This is Sasquatch in the Wild. Hope you enjoyed the journey, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.